Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Vikas Singh Thakur, and in this video, we are going to see some features, parameter that you should be looking into any of the private colleges. If you haven't made it up to JE or NITs or IITs and NITs or any prestigious colleges, then this video is dedicatedly for you. If you are someone who really want to go into robotics, especially the automation sector, then I was also a private college student, so I could say, lot of the things, lots of the time it happened. We expect a lot of things from our college, but at the end of the day, a lot of things are missing. We were being, fooled, and a lot of things are involved in, this kind of private colleges. And I will be, sharing all of my personal opinion here because I have also spent 4 year of mine into this field, and I have done a lot of good things. I have a lot of the better exposures also, but you need to be very aware about all of these things. So let's get started. And here I want to be very clear about one point, that everything here is based on my personal experience, and it is you who will be responsible for your own action over this 4 year. And you cannot blame me. We choose this college because of your suggestions and all. So be very responsible for your own action. I'm not taking any responsibility for you, but I want to share my experience, and based on that experience you can learn something. You can enhance your the decision for taking or admission into any of the colleges. So let's get started, and let's see all these features that you should be looking into any private college. So the first point that you should be looking is the fees versus the return of investment. Well, this is very important. Lots of the time it happened that we used to, we think that a college which is taking a lot of fees would be really great. They should be, we most of the time we are looking only at the campus size and the infrastructure, the structures, the overall environment there. Well, this are matters sometime, but when we are talking especially about robotics, then what actually matter is the return of investment, or because robotics is a field where you will be putting a lot of your money, lot of your financial input is required here. So if we are talking about different courses here, if we are talking about different motors, hardware, lidar, some sensors and industrial grade motors and all, then all of these require your inputs, or the financial input or support from your side. So this is very important for you to understand that just getting a great infrastructured college or a very huge campus is not important here. What is important is the real exposure, whether you are getting that amount of that huge lab, or the real equipments are there, or whether they are allowing you to get into the lab, whether they are allowing you to work on your own ideas or project. Let's say we are getting admission into 8 lakh college, but let's say there is another college which is taking a fees of 4 lakh only. I'm not putting any name here, but if there is certain colleges where you will be getting that same degree, that same examination, that btech degree in 4 lakh rupees, then it is not a bad idea to go into this kind of college and save that 4 lakh extra that you were going to put into this kind of college. Instead of just sacrificing great campus, or great structural environment and all of these, try to you need to sacrifice some of the point here to get into this part. But if you are doing this, so if you are putting yourself into a college which is taking you 4 lakh for your entire btech course, and if you are able to save 4 lakh, and if you are able, most of the time, if you're able to put all of this money into self learning, getting hardware, getting hands on experience, getting some courses which are out there, where you can actually, in which you are actually going to get all of this exposure, all of those things that you really want to learn, instead of just going with the examination theory part. Well, you required the degree at the end, because lots of the time degree plays a great role ahead for your life and your overall job and the career life. So it is important. But if you are able to get that same degree in 4 lakh or uh, lesser than this, then it is very important if you are able to put that 50% into the the btech degree, and 50% or 60% of it into the self learning and the courses, and the getting hardware experience, hands on experience and all. So this is very important, but this is just my personal opinion. This point here I want to put it on the first and the top. So this is the thing that you could go ahead, go for the low fees small campus, that's okay, because our main focus is somewhere else. Our dream is something else that we want to do, and we can just achieve all of those using the courses here. So that is important. You can look at this thing. You can look for those colleges which is having lesser fees, and you could get better exposure there. You could put yourself or your investment into something that you really want to do. So the next point is the strong hands-on infrastructure. And I'm not talking about the classrooms or the size of classroom here. What I'm talking about is a lab facility in your college. So if there is some technical lab, let's say Idea Lab or Adult Tinker Lab, there are lots of the different kind of lab right now, getting into a lot of these colleges. So it is very important to look at this facility, because these are something that are going to support you in your initial stage, that are able to give you the initial or you can say the support or the infrastructure around. So it is very important for looking to look at this technical lab. And I'm not talking about the physics or chemistry lab here. So what I am actually meant to is the robotics lab, electronics lab, mechanical lab, whether they have those kind of facilities, soldering iron, oscilloscope, different kind of laser printer, 3D printer, CNC machine or something like that. Then this is very important to look at the technical lab. And also you can look at the the participation and their supports. So it is very important. Lots of the time it happened that lots of the colleges in the private, lots of the college they just want to have a huge lab, but they are not actually allowing their student to get into it. They there is always a lock in the lab part, and there is no support from the professor or your classroom is there. So it is very important to look at their history, whether they are actually working or actively working on some real project or not. So this is very important, because this is going to define and help you a lot in your initial stage or at your initial exposure to this kind of technical field. So the third point is the the active robotics club or cultural activity, whether they are doing some cultural or the technical activities or not. So this is very important here. So robotics is a thing where you require a lot of exposure, lot of experience from someone who have already learned about it. So you need to look at the colleges whether they have a robotics club that is actually working onto some real project or not. Because lots of the time it happened there may be clubs or robotics club there, but they are not very active into any of this work or any of this exposure or real life project. So you need to look at those colleges which are actually having this club and they are actually doing some real world projects. The next thing is the active participation, whether they are actively participating in SIH, Robocon, or iRoku, a lot of things, or IRC, or different challenges or hackathons are going around the world. So whether they are actively participating, winning them, losing them, or whether they are doing this kind of activity or not. So this is very important. And here one thing I personally think that is very important, that is the mentorship from seniors is there or not. So a lot of the time it happened that when we get into a college, we have the internet, we can you can watch my video, you can watch someone more experienced person video about their suggestion, their tips. But getting a personal one by one interaction between the seniors who have actually worked into project is very important. And this plays a very good or motivational push for you to pursue this robotics and do some real life projects ahead. So this is very important, whether you are getting a mentorship from your senior, someone very experienced, someone some professor, whether they are working into some projects or not. So you can check out all of these features before taking any of the decision. And this is very important, I could say, because this defines your entire environment, your group of people, where you are talking about actual projects, where you are talking about real thing that you really want to do ahead in your life. So this is very important. So the fourth point is the industry exposure and some real projects they are working on. So the industrial sponsored lab or project is very important, because industrial projects are something that are actually out there and that is very impactful. So if there is some project or the labs that is being sponsored by any of these industries, whether it does not always needed to be an ISRO or DRDO based project, you could there could be different industries who are actually assigning their project to student to work into. And over the time, where while they are working into this project, they got the industrial exposure and how actually the real life project work out there. So this is very important. Next thing is the internship opportunity from any of this industry. So whether any industries is sponsoring your your college, or there is some memorandum between different industries, whether they are allowing different, the student from that college to be part of their industrial project or something like that, then this is also important. Next thing, and very important, is the startup and incubation support. Lot of the time nowadays, almost every college got some incubation center there, where you could, work onto your idea, you can pitch your idea, and based on the interest of your professor or your the uh, particular in particular judges, you can, get some funding, some initial grant from your college, and some, initial support from your college, and you can start working on your idea, product, or whatever you really want to do. So here, these are the things that you should be looking into any of the private colleges. And here, I'm not talking about the placement thing and all, because a lot of the time it happened that they are fooling you a lot. A lot of the time it happened that this number are manipulated. Some of the words are missing out there. Getting this much amount of 48, 58 LPA and all those thing, and 100% placement guarantee. All of these are things for foolish people. And 95% of this colleges or private colleges are faking about their placement, and the average package and all. So don't try to get into this kind of trap. Try to see the real value they are adding into you. And believe me, placement is totally depend on you. You can also apply for off campus. You can also go for the companies outside your college. And it is not always the matter of thing that the any of the Google or Microsoft or some great companies like Tesla or something that is coming into your college, and all of these. So I think the real skill is coming from your side, and the college matters. uh, I think it is matter, but it is not always matter a lot. So it is totally depend on you. It is your responsibility to work on onto this kind of thing, and it is you who is responsible for your own action over this 4 year. It is you who will be defining yourself. So these are all the features and things, and my personal opinion and experiences that I could, I really want to have if I am someone at your at your place, and if I am looking into any of these colleges for robotics especially. So in the upcoming videos, I will be also sharing some of the more experience about the different department that you should be getting into, the branches that you should be getting into. If you're not getting robotics, then what should you be looking into? So this is the thing I will be making another video on. So just be connected with me. I am Vikas. I love robotics. See you on the next video. Till then, bye.